Authorized Ford and Toyota dealerships serving the Cayman Islands. Coca-Cola, available across the Cayman Islands from Tortuga distributors. Accept no substitutes. Taste the feeling with Coca-Cola. Brand Source Home Gallery, inspiring luxury. West Bay Pharmacy, taking care of your health. And JN Money.
From abroad to yard.
Fast, affordable, convenient. Doctor's Hospital. Peace of mind is important when life happens. Doctor's Hospital. Always there for you. Call 949-6066.
This is For the Record with Ort Connor.
Coming to you live from Radio Cayman Studio.
For the record.
For the record. For the record. Hear from your government officials, independents, and the opposition on issues that matter to you. For the record. Engage in an open dialogue between residents and lawmakers.
For the record.
For the record. For the record. Informative, impartial, insightful.
This is your talk show.
1-800-534-8255. Your calls, your input. This is For the Record. And now, your host, Ort Connor.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, O land of soft, fresh breezes and verdant trees so fair. Today is Friday, the first day of July 2022, right here in the beautiful Cayman Islands. We hope and we trust that everyone had a restful, peaceful, enjoyable evening. Those of you who are on the roads of the Cayman Islands, whether you're a pedestrian or a cyclist or operating any type of motorized vehicle, we urge you to please, please, please be extremely cautious. Ensure that you observe the rules of the road. Remember, the life you save may just be your own. For those of you who are celebrating a birthday today, we want to wish you a happy birthday, or if you've celebrated one over the past few days, a belated happy birthday as well. And to remind you that this segment from 7:30 until 7:45, the birthday shout-out is proudly brought to you by life insurance agents Michael Webster and Randa Lawson from Cayman Insurance Center. And they want to remind you that you are not to take chances with your family's future. So again, if you're celebrating a birthday today, happy birthday, or if you celebrated one over the past few days, a belated happy birthday to you as well. For those of you who have lost loved ones, we want to express our sincere condolences to you. We hope and we trust that your faith will help to carry you through these extremely challenging times, and that the memories of your loved ones will be a blessing to you as well. Those of you who are ill and are either at home or at a medical facility, either here in the Cayman Islands or overseas, we wish you a speedy recovery as well. So folks, I want to thank you for allowing Radio Cayman, and by extension For the Record, into your homes, into your vehicles as we traverse the busy roads of the Cayman Islands, into your places of work, wherever that may be. As you know, For the Record is a show produced by the staff and management of Radio Cayman, and it is geared towards keeping you abreast of issues as they arise and play out on the local, regional, and international scene. I am your host, Ort Connor, and you're welcome to join me every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 7:30 a.m. until 10 a.m. During that period, our phone lines are open. Beautiful radio voice of Miss Susan Watson waiting to take your calls this morning, but we're going to caution you about your calls for a second because we have guests in the studio, and I will be telling you a little bit more about those guests as well. But when we do open the phone lines, you can call us on our toll-free number provided courtesy of Flo. That toll-free number, 1-800-534-8255. You can also call us on 949-8037 and 949-6990. Email us at fortherecord. That's one word, For the Record, at candw.ky. WhatsApp us, 925-3261, where you can send us a text message or leave us a voice note, the contents of which will be played during the course of the show. And of course, you can follow us on YouTube simply by subscribing to Radio Cayman live stream. We have two guests in the studio this morning. One guest is no stranger to the studio itself. The other guest, we have spoken to her several occasions on the phone, and we have heard her poetry, as well. So it is our pleasure to have in the studio with us this morning the chairman of the Constitutional Commission of the Cayman Islands, Mr. Vaughn, and also with us is Miss Annikki Hill, Nee Brown, just in case you don't recognize the Hill part, and she's a member of the commission as well. And I'll just give you some background information coming from the commission's website as far as the Constitutional Commission is concerned. Now, some of you may be wondering, why are they in the studio today? Well, you have a holiday that is coming up on Monday, and if you don't know the purpose of that holiday, then you're already in trouble. But we'll get you out of that trouble because we'll tell you what it is all about as well. So the Constitutional Commission for the Cayman Islands is a 3-person commission established under Section 118 of the Cayman Islands Constitution Order 2009. The commission is an independent body which is deemed crucial for the effectiveness and legitimacy in exercising its functions. In broad terms, the Commission may be said to combine the functions of an advisory body with those of a think tank on constitutional matters. The specific functions of the Commission are outlined in Section 118, subsection 3 of the Constitution, and they are to advise the government on questions concerning constitutional status and development in the Cayman Islands. 2, to publish reports, discussion papers, information papers, and other documents on constitutional matters affecting the Cayman Islands. 3, to promote understanding and awareness of the Constitution and its values, and to exercise such other functions as may be prescribed by law enacted by the legislature. And I'll add one more to that, and that is to be on Radio Cayman, and in particular, for the record, to discuss the Constitution as well. So the commission must consist of a chairperson and 2 other members, at least one of whom shall be an experienced lawyer, all of whom volunteer their time and services to the commission. So with those words of introduction to our audience, I want to say to both of you, good morning, welcome to For the Record, starting with you, Miss Annikki.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having us.
And Mr. Carter, good morning. Welcome back to For the Record. Sometimes it spans over a few months, but whenever you're here, the conversation is always great. Welcome back, sir.
Good morning, OC. It's my pleasure to be here, and good morning to everybody listening, and indeed, I understand, watching too.
Yes. Okay, so I'm going to throw the mic over to you.
Well, obviously, as you said, it's Constitution Day again on Monday, yes. And we all have that public holiday, and I'm sure we're all looking forward to it again. But as far as the Commission is concerned, this provides an ideal opportunity for us annually, or at least annually, to come and to talk with you and to talk with the listening public about the Constitution. It's, as you quite rightly outline, very much part of our mandate, and not only Radio Cayman, but other outlets, yes, and other events as well, of course. But it is important that we reach out and connect with people. We try to do that through our website as well, and as I say, through other events. But this particular weekend, and it's good that we come on a Friday before the weekend, yes, so people have a little bit more time to perhaps reflect on what we have to say before they get to the Monday festivities, let's say, and to actually think and consider the Constitution. Our mandate is to educate and inform, and this is part of that, and also to, as you say, to advise. And we have made a number of recommendations over a number of years that we, by convention, submit to His Excellency the Governor, the Honourable Premier, and the Honourable Leader of the Opposition. And that convention arises out of the the way in which we were given our constitution in 2009 and the letter of entrustment that talks about how that might potentially be reformed for minor issues with the approval of the Premier and the Leader of the Opposition. And so that explains why we addressed that correspondence to them. And I'm sure as we move on through the morning, we might talk about the advice and recommendations that we have given over recent years.
Yes.
But in particular today, on the educate and inform side of our remit, over the past 2 or 3 years, we've taken the opportunity presented by Constitution Day to provide an annual update on constitutional matters that's posted to our website and will be posted to our website today. The website is www.constitutionalcommission.ky, so it's quite easy, quite straightforward.
Yes.
Even I can get it. And this year, the update, and I say we use it as an update for education. Many commissions and committees and boards will, by law, are required to produce an annual report. And that's quite often a very staid, black and white typed document that in many respects serves an important purpose, but as far as the general public is concerned, it often sits on a shelf and is not read. So we like to use Constitution Day to provide a slightly more glossier update that is not we met 4 times and we published 6 things, but it will refer to those, but we try and use it to educate and inform. And this year, so much has been going on in relation to the Constitution that we were able to break it, the education and inform part, into 3 sections. And naturally that lent itself to the 3 branches of any government, which is the executive branch, the legislative branch, and the judicial branch. And we're able to provide information and topical commentary on issues and events relating to each of those 3 branches of government. Okay. And so, I mean, I can kick off by saying, well, the first section talks about the executive, and what we're able to do in relation to the executive is to highlight a number of important things that have happened in the course of the last year. And obviously you'll recall that almost a year ago now, the Cabinet took the decision that the summaries of Cabinet meetings would be published. Given your background, I'm sure that's a matter that's very close to your heart.
Certainly,
and
yes.
Very important for the transparency and openness of government. People can now see what was on the agenda and what was generally decided, the outcomes from that Cabinet meeting. Before, that tended to be secret and closed, and people didn't know, and unless there was a press release, it was sometimes difficult to track that down, or unless there was somebody in the know that came on Radio Cayman and talked about it, that people weren't necessarily aware. If it was a decision to move forward with a piece of legislation, one wouldn't necessarily see that until it was published as a bill and proceeded to the Parliament. So this is absolutely crucial, and a lot of people ask, well, why can't we have all of the minutes of the cabinet deliberations? And in our section on the executive, we try to explain why this isn't the norm and isn't really practicable. And the key reason there relates to the accountability mechanisms in our constitution. So the government, through Cabinet, is answerable or has to control a majority in Parliament, and representatives in Parliament are answerable to the people, to the electorate, by dint of being elected by the people. Now, it is important that the Parliament can hold the government to account. So it's important that the government speaks with one voice, so the people in Parliament know what the government is saying and can say, well, we don't agree with you here, and here's why we don't agree with you, and this is what we might offer by way of alternative viewpoint on a particular matter. And that's embodied in a constitutional principle called collective responsibility, which means that once the Cabinet has taken a decision, it's a collective decision, and all of the Cabinet ministers are bound by that decision, and they must articulate that position. If they don't agree with it, they would have to resign from the Cabinet. And that, as I said, enables Parliament to hold them to account. Part of that convention of collective responsibility, therefore, is that the discussions in Cabinet are free. That's the opportunity for one Cabinet Minister to say, no, I don't agree with that. In practice, that often happens in caucus the day before. Yes. But in reality, if a Cabinet Minister didn't agree, they would express that disagreement in Cabinet or in caucus previously. But once the decision is taken there, that's the collective decision. Right. And so Cabinet gives the opportunity, at least, for free and frank discussion. And that's why, historically, Cabinet discussions have always been secret and confidential and held for 25 years before they're released. So what we in the Cayman Islands have done, and what the government here has done, is try and balance that need for confidentiality and secrecy, balance the traditional mechanisms of accountability and answerability in our Westminster-style constitution of the government to Parliament, but also try and be as open and transparent as possible. And the compromise is, well, we can't publish the minutes, but we can publish the outcomes. Personally, I think that's a very good compromise given the two competing considerations that we've just identified, and it's a step forward for our constitutional arrangements, and I think it should be rightly acknowledged as such.
Excellent, excellent. Good time for us to take a commercial break, folks. Don't change that dial. Please stay tuned. The conversation with Mr. Vaughn Carter and Miss Annikki Hill will continue, so please stay tuned.
The Cayman Islands boasts of a long, colorful, and rich history. In tribute to our roots, Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands, is pleased to bring you the Historical Vignette Series. Brought to you by Rotary Central. For more than 110 years, Rotary members have used their passion, energy, and intelligence to take action on sustainable projects. The Cayman Islands, He hath founded it upon the seas.
With 2 consecutive decades of milestone growth, the 1970s saw the continuation of this profound change. In 1970, the population of the Cayman Islands was 10,249, with only 403 visitors. The International College of the Cayman Islands was also founded. 1971 saw the cadastral survey began, ensuring that all land was registered. In 1972, the new constitution was introduced, under which Cayman is governed by a legislative assembly, executive council, and a governor. The Cayman currency was introduced. The Humane Society began operations, and the Lions Club of Grand Cayman was chartered. In 1973, Cayman's first radio station opened at ICCI. ICCI FM served as a training workshop for broadcasting students at the International College of the Cayman Islands. In 1975, the National Council of Social Service, later renamed the National Council of Voluntary Organizations, was founded, along with the Kiwanis Club of Grand Cayman being chartered. In 1976, Radio Cayman began broadcasting, and the first Pirates Week Festival was held. 1979 saw Cayman Water Company Limited begin producing desalinated water at its Governor's Harbour plant. The launch of the Boys Brigade and the annual census report showed a population boom to 16,677.
Threads, fibers, the finger-printed view, history captured, vibrations of color from canvas, the vivid, the lively, the subtle message in image, the potter's dream, the picture that speaks, that sings, that shouts, that laughs, that cries, layers of truth in revelation. The National Gallery, celebrating 25 years since 1996, now finally rooted in 10-year-old digs, a permanent home since 2012. The National Gallery of the Cayman Islands, our leading voice, the face of the visual arts, education, exhibition, the pearl of cultural exhortation. Home of our treasure, the permanent collection. Bendel hides the pillar, the icon, master painter, trailblazer, our Caymanian Picasso. Rotary Central invites you to view all that we are at the National Gallery. Rotary serves to change lives.
Radio Cayman's Historical Vignettes was brought to you by Rotary Central. For more than 110 years, Rotary members have used their passion, energy, and intelligence to take action on sustainable projects.
Make your house into a home. Welcome to Brand Source Home Gallery, your source for premium products and a premium experience. We'll design and install your dream kitchen with crafted cabinets, complemented with elegant appliances. We'll fill it with quality houseware and cookware. Custom designed closet and storage solutions organize and beautify any area. And with the finest bedding, you'll get a perfect night's sleep knowing Brand Source Home Gallery has everything you need to make your house a home.
Since March 2004, West Bay Pharmacy has kept their doors open to the local communities, even before, during, and after Hurricane Ivan. At West Bay Pharmacy, our staff provides so much more than pharmaceutical excellence. From the moment you walk through our doors to completing your cash out, our staff will have put your healthcare concerns at ease. We would like to take this moment to thank our loyal friends and customers. To us at West Bay Pharmacy, our patients are our primary concern. We provide thorough background checks and precise calculations to ensure your medical safety. Thank you for being a part of our family and for choosing West Bay Pharmacy, where we care about your health.
We think it's time you crossed over to a new vehicle. And with the Toyota Corolla Cross now at Vaughn Motors, you have plenty of reasons to make the switch. The crossover body and hybrid engine is a sleek design in a sturdy structure with a spacious interior that opens to extensive cargo space. Stuck in traffic? The high-performance self-charging hybrid system automatically switches between gas and electric vehicle mode, helping you lower both fuel costs and carbon emissions. The Corolla Cross has full LED lighting inside and out, an integrated display audio system with energy monitor, and a dual-zone climate control system to ensure comfort for all. Test drive the new Toyota Corolla Cross Hybrid today at Vaughn Motors, Walkers Road.
JN Money, money touchdown. Send the money now, reach wow. You say you need some money, JN Money, I go send it in a hurry. Get through quick when you come collect your cash, or use your money card and swipe it in a flash. Send funds to any bank, yeah. Pay your bills quick, yeah. Low fees, you know what it, yeah. JN Money, we are pick, yeah. Send and receive funds at any JN Money location. It's fast, affordable, and convenient. Money touchdown with JN Money. Send funds to any bank, yeah. Pay your bills quick, yeah. Low fees, you know what it, yeah. JN Money, we are pick, yeah.
Call 345-945-2014 for details. Available at JN Money locations across the Cayman Islands.
Hi, I'm life insurance agent Michael Webster.
And I am Randy Lawson from Cayman Insurance Center.
Proud sponsors of the birthday shoutouts on For the Record.
Whether you're another year older or just a year wiser,
making sure your family is protected is a pretty wise choice. I'm Michael Webster at 925-5433.
And I am Randy Lawson at 322-2145. Give us a call today to find out how you can better secure your family's future.
Cayman Insurance Center, protecting you and your family so you can take back your future.
System 1 loaded.
1-800-534-8255. What is on your mind when it comes to the government, independence, and the opposition? Issues that matter to you. 1-800-534-8255. Waiting to hear from you. For the Record.
This is For the Record with Ort Connor.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. It is my pleasure to have in the studio with me this morning two members of the Constitutional Commission. They are Miss Annikki Hill, Nee Brown. Make sure I clarify that. She's a member. And Mr. Vaughn Carter, who is the chair person of the commission as well. For our listeners and viewers, After the 8 o'clock news, which will be around 8:15, we're going to open the phone lines up because we want you to be involved in the conversation. If you have any questions, comments, observations about our Constitution as well. So after the 8 o'clock news, the phone lines will be open as well. Meanwhile, I'm going to throw the mic back over to the commission members.
Thank you, OC. And before the break, you asked us us to jump straight into our 2022 constitutional update, and we did that, and we started talking about some of the important things that have happened over the last year.
Yes,
including the publication of cabinet summaries. But I know that we've got a short section now before the news, and rather than get into anything heavy and educational like that, Annikki and I wanted to take this time to acknowledge the sad passing of what I describe in our constitutional message at the start of the update as constitutional giants of the country. I've had the pleasure and the honour of working and writing about the Cayman Islands Constitution for the last 25 years, but there are many people that have been at this task far longer than I, and sadly we lost 3 of those in the past year, and we wouldn't want to go any further without acknowledging and recognising those. And in no particular order, they include the Honourable Benson Ebanks, who was not only a member of the Legislative Assembly, in terms of my involvement with the Constitution, I personally know him best from working on the Constitutional Modernisation Review Committee in 2002, which was one of the key initial steps post the 1999 White Paper that opened up constitutional discussions that took us a decade. I call it the decade of discussion, and you were intimately involved in that, the decade of discussion up until the 2009 Constitution. So he played a very important part in the early stages, and of course that Constitutional Commission was the first Caymanian Constitutional Commission. We'd had ad hoc constitutional commissions in the past, but they were all people sent from the UK generally. But this was the first truly Caymanian local constitutional commission, and he was an integral part of that. In previous years, when I've come on your show for Constitutional Day, we had the honour and pleasure and privilege of calling and speaking to Mr. A.J. Miller, who was the last surviving vestryman in Cayman's original legislative body, the Assembly of Justices and Vestry, which was the legislative body prior to the Legislative Assembly in the 59, 62, 72 constitutions, which of course has now been renamed in the most recent constitutional amendment as the Parliament. So he was significant, and he spanned the whole era or epoch of the modern constitutional arrangements, and indeed took a step back into history and was that link with the past. And we're obviously very sad that we've lost that link, but very grateful and privileged to have been able to speak with him on previous shows. And last but by no means least, we lost our national hero, the Honourable Sybil Mclaughlin, who was our first Speaker of what is now the Parliament. She was also the first female Speaker of any such assembly in the Commonwealth as well. So that was not only a first for Cayman, but a first for us in the wider world as well. And she stood out there, and she stood true and tall for Cayman, and was a constitutional icon in that regard. And I think she's one of the people that we feature on the Constitutional Commission's website historically. We acknowledged her in the past, and we acknowledge her passing and send condolences to the families of all of those constitutional giants, as I put them. And indeed, one of the things that we talk about in our update as well is the role of the Speaker. And of course, she was not an elected member of the House. She was an outside appointee. And that's an interesting thing, but perhaps we'll talk about later in the show. But I know Annikki wanted to add something.
Sure.
Yes, I certainly did. It is the end of an era with the passing of these three giants. And we are standing on their shoulders. But I really wanted to give a very special, to just speak to the very special place in our hearts that Miss Sybil, our national hero, holds as the first woman. The first woman in any position is actually very significant. But she also, I think, stood for more than just what women can do. She was also a very, very powerful representation of the Caymanian identity, in my opinion. And I think this is something that we all, an opinion that most of us share. But, it's been a really significant year, the past couple of years, with the growth of a discussion around Caymanian identity, Caymanian culture, the unveiling of Caymanian culture, because it has always been there. It's just always been spoken of as if it's some big secret. But the work of Mr. Roy Bawden has come to the forefront. The work of the Committee for the Promotion of Research and Cayman Scholarship has been a very big part of that. And of course, the Constitution is the foundation and the container in which this identity has formed over time, which is also forming as we grow in our identity. But I was speaking to Vaughn in the break about Miss Sybil's biography, from Island Girl to National Hero, and the voice that you can hear when you actually read this is that of such a powerful Caymanian woman, but also the quiet stoicism and the understated power that comes with being who she was. So it is a moment in time that I think we really need to just honor and take some time and really acknowledge the passing of a giant, a true giant.
Definitely. Okay, folks, we're going to go to our 8 o'clock news, top of the hour. Please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back shortly.
Thank you, Mr. Connor. And studio time now by Foster's is 2 minutes after 8.
Say it with me. Reduce, reuse, recycle. Reduce, reuse, recycle.
More than a mantra, these words are a blueprint of building a sustainable Earth.
A sustainable Cayman.
So this July, join Foster's and Priced Right.
With your purchase of $50 or more, you'll be eligible to receive a free recycling bin for all your recycling needs to help keep our island clean and green.
While supplies last.
Learn more on our social channels at Foster's Cayman on Facebook and Instagram.
Or go to fosters.ky.
Foster's. Better because we care.
The 8 a.m. news is brought to you by ValueMed Pharmacy. Save time and order your prescription refills online at value-medpharmacy.com. VALU-medpharmacy.com.
For today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
From Radio Cayman's newsroom, I'm Shanda Gallego with your latest news. Exit testing may be over, but isolation once you've contracted COVID-19 is still a must. Here's Radio Cayman's Felicia Rankin-Solins with more.
Anyone who tests positive for COVID-19 by lateral flow test is still required to report their positive result and complete a confirmation PCR test at an HSA testing clinic. Once COVID is confirmed, you must immediately isolate. The day you test positive is considered day 0. Fully vaccinated positives must isolate for 6 days. You may leave isolation on day 7 as long as you have no symptoms. An unvaccinated or partially vaccinated positive will need to isolate for 9 days. Leave isolation on day 10 if you have no symptoms. Vaccinated people who are primary contacts of those who are COVID-19 positive must conduct daily lateral flow testing for 6 days, but may continue usual activities. Unvaccinated people in the household of a positive person must quarantine for 9 days. As for unvaccinated children 11 and under, they should isolate based on the vaccination status of their parent or guardian. Households where one parent or guardian is vaccinated and another is not default as unvaccinated. To report a positive LFT result, visit exploregov.ky/report-COVID-19-result. For Radio Cayman News, I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins.
There are a number of road closures coming up this weekend for the Caymas Carnival Street Parade. Radio Cayman's April Cummings has the details.
From 10:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. on Saturday, South Church Street will be closed between Memorial Avenue and Boilers Road, this in preparation for the parade. It's scheduled to begin at 1 o'clock, and then sections of the road along the parade route will be closed. These will be rolling closures, so as the parade passes each section, the roadways will then reopen to the public. We have posted the route details and a map on the Radio Cayman Facebook page. The times, of course, may change, so police suggest you avoid these areas if you're not planning to participate or watch KMAS. If traveling to West Bay on Saturday, motorists are also advised to take the Esterly-Tibbetts Highway as an alternate route. April Cummings, Radio Cayman News.
In other local news, 43 girls and boys will leave the Theoline McCoy Primary School and make their way to high school following a recent school-leaving ceremony. Here's CIHTV's Donna Bush with more.
Family, friends, teachers, senior education officials, and dignitaries attended the event. Principal Kimberly Rottler had this to say.
Students, you have done well, and I applaud you for your efforts. Parents, you have been phenomenal in your unwavering support of our school vision and purpose of working in partnership with families and the community to develop confident, competent, self-disciplined, lifelong learners by providing a brilliant educational experience through a relevant technology-based curriculum in a nurturing, child-centered environment.
Deputy Premier the Honourable Christopher Saunders was one of several persons handing out certificates and awards for consistent effort, citizenship, and science, just to name a few.
That's CIHTV's Donna Bush there. That is your latest local news. We now turn to the BBC with a check of international news. That's it from me. From Radio Cayman's newsroom, I'm Shanda Gallego.
BBC News with Neil Nunes. Ukraine has accused Russia of waging a war on civilians after at least 19 people were killed by Russian missile strikes near the Black Sea port of Odessa. More than 30 others were injured in the attacks, which severely damaged a block of flats and a recreation center. President Putin has issued a decree that will give Russia full control of one of the world's biggest natural gas projects. The Sakhalin-2 scheme is currently part-owned by the energy giant Shell and the Japanese firms Mitsui and Mitsubishi. Japan, which has participated in international sanctions against Russia, is heavily reliant on imports of liquefied natural gas. India has imposed export duties on petrol, diesel and aviation fuel to help maintain domestic supplies. The taxes are expected to hit several companies part-owned by the Russian oil giant Rosneft, who've been making huge profits buying discounted Russian oil and selling it on to buyers in Europe. BBC World News.
The 8 a.m. news is brought to you by ValueMed Pharmacy. Save time and order your prescription refills online at value-medpharmacy.com. VALU-medpharmacy.com.
Now, more than ever, supporting your immune system is crucial to helping your body fight off illnesses like the common cold, the flu, and COVID-19. At ValueMed Pharmacy on Walkers Road and in Buttontown, we carry all the essential vitamins and minerals to help support your immune system and improve your overall health. Some of our top immunity support picks are vitamin C, vitamin D, zinc, elderberry, and quercetin, or the popular 7-in-1 immunity support. Our pharmacists are always on hand to help guide you and answer any questions. Visit ValueMed Pharmacy on Walkers Road or Buttontown. Live happy, live healthy with ValueMed Pharmacy.
Stay in touch with Radio Cayman for the latest in news and information.
Follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, www.radiocayman.gov.ky.
Radio Cayman, your voice, your choice, your radio.
Tune in every Monday through Friday at 12 p.m. for Radio Cayman's Midday Newscast. Radio Cayman, the People's Station, your trusted official source for the latest news. The 12 p.m. news is proudly brought to you by Health City Cayman Islands. World-class healthcare within your reach.
The 8:12 a.m. weather report brought to you by CG Britcay, where people come first.
Good morning, everyone. Hello? Hello? Oh, sorry, I was on mute. Okay, I see we have just about everyone, and of course Tom drops off, as per usual. Let's just wait a minute here. He always comes right back, and we're almost ready, and... oh, whoever's dog that is, please go on mute. Why won't it let me share my screen? Okay, looks like we're ready to start.
We're like a video conference with no technical issues. CG Britcay.
Good like that.
Good morning. Let's take a look at the very latest weather report. Current temperature is 84 degrees. Relative humidity is 77%. The barometric pressure is 29.95 inches and rising. The wind is out of the east at 6 knots. Overnight low temperature was 81 degrees. Synopsis indicate moderate easterly winds and seas expected over the Cayman area for the next 24 hours due to a ridge of high-pressure system just north of the Caribbean. Satellite images show a few low-level clouds in and around the Cayman Islands drifting towards the west. The National Hurricane Center in Miami, Florida is issuing advisories on potential tropical cyclone 2, which at 7 this morning was located at 11.5 north, 79.9 west. It's about 265 miles east of Bluefields, Nicaragua. Potential tropical cyclone 2 has maximum sustained winds of 40 miles per hour and is moving towards the west at 18 miles per hour. This system poses no immediate threat to the Cayman Islands. The Cayman Islands National Weather Service will continue to monitor the progress of the system. For further details, you can visit www.nhc.noaa.gov. Now, the forecast for the Cayman Islands for today, calling for partly cloudy skies with cloudy spells and a 40% chance of afternoon showers and possible thunder. Temperatures will rise to the upper 80s today. Winds will be east at 10 to 15 knots. Seas will be slight to moderate with wave heights of 3 to 5 feet. Pretty much the same for tonight, partly cloudy skies with a 30% chance of showers and temperatures falling to the mid-70s tonight. Winds will be east at 10 to 15 knots and seas will be slight to moderate with wave heights of 3 to 5 feet. Today's high tide will occur this morning at 10:30, low tide this afternoon at 4:48, and a high tide again tonight at 11:49. The sun was set this evening at 6 minutes past 7 and will rise tomorrow morning at 5:52. And the outlook is calling for similar weather conditions through Sunday morning.
The 8:12 a.m. weather report brought to you by CG Britcay, where people come first.
Good morning, everyone. Hello? Hello? Oh, sorry, I was on mute. Okay, I see we have just about everyone, and of course, Tom drops off, as per usual. Let's just wait a minute here. He always comes right back, and we're almost ready, and... oh, whoever's dog that is, please go on mute. Why won't it let me share my screen? Okay, looks like we're ready to start.
We're like a video conference with no technical issues. CG Britcay. Good like that.
During these unprecedented times, Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands, is pleased to bring you the Cayman Strong Series. The Cayman Strong Series is brought to you by Encourse Cayman. Visit encourse.ky to view a full list of wellness services and their qualified team. Encourse Cayman, health, wellness, and happiness.
Achieving your goals is a very rewarding feeling, but at times can feel very frustrating, especially if and when we miss our target. As you approach your goals in life, set yourself up for success.
When setting goals, adjust as necessary. When goal setting, anticipate ups and downs. Often it will be easier to stick to some goals than others, so allow yourself to have some flexibility in your approach and assessment. Continue to dream and adjust the end game to maintain interest and motivation. Ask yourself, is this really my goal? If it is a goal imposed by others, then consider what may be in it for you. Why would you do this? There is always the option not to do it. Figure out why you're doing it and then go for it.
Change your thinking and change your life.
During these unprecedented times, Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands, is pleased to bring you the Cayman Strong Series. The Cayman Strong Series is brought to you by Encourse Cayman. Visit encourse.ky to view a full list of wellness services and their qualified team. Encourse Cayman, health, wellness, and happiness.
These days, feelings of loneliness, anxiety, stress, and depression can be overwhelming. Just know you are not alone. On-Course Cayman offers private mental health services for children, teens, adults, and groups. Visit oncourse.ky to view a full list of wellness services and their qualified team. On-Course Cayman. Health, wellness, and happiness.
Top of the morning to you. Let's take a look at what's happening on our roads. Coming from the east on Shamrock Road and coming off the Rex Crichton Boulevard, traffic is moving on steadily. On the Linford Pearson Highway, traffic is busy, and coming off of Agnes Way and off of Bobby Thompson Way, traffic is steady. Crew Road, steady traffic heading to Georgetown. Eastbound traffic on Crew Road is moving on pretty good. Moderate flow of traffic on Edward Street as well as on Shedden Road. And coming off of the Esterly Tibbetts Highway, traffic is steadily moving. And as we look to Northstown Road, traffic is moderate in both directions. On the West Bay Road in front of the Ritz, traffic is moving along swiftly in both directions. And into Georgetown and Shedden looking too bad as traffic is flowing nicely. Edward Street, light to moderate traffic flow and coming from the West Bay 4-way stop as well. That's what's happening on your roads. Join us again at about 10 minutes after 12 o'clock. We'll give you another traffic report.
The traffic report is brought to you by Subway. Planning a meeting, event, or office celebration? Visit subway.ky to place your catering order today.
Subway is giving you flavor around the clock with the new Chicken Squad sandwich options. Try the classic chicken and bacon ranch, the sweet and savory barbecue chicken, or the chicken cordon bleu. 3 new appetizing and delicious sub options that you can also make into a wrap. The Chicken Squad is available at Subway for only a limited time. Subway, giving you something to cluck about.
The traffic report is brought to you by Subway. Planning a meeting, event, or office celebration? Visit subway.ky to place your catering order today.
Can you tell me what does a turtle do on his birthday? He celebrates! Celebrate your loved one's special birthday with a birthday shout-out live on For the Record with Mr. Orrit Connor, only on Radio Cayman. WhatsApp your loved one's name and age to 925-3261. That's 925-3261. Radio Cayman's birthday shout-outs live on For the Record with Mr. Orrit Connor every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Brought to you by life insurance agents Michael Webster and Randy Lawson from Cayman Insurance Center. Don't take chances with your family's future.
89.9 Radio Cayman helps you to weather the storm during this hurricane season.
One of the most crucial elements of hurricane preparedness is storm awareness. During the season, it is of utmost importance to pay attention to the latest local weather forecast, as hurricanes do not suddenly form or strike. There are various methods of advanced notification. Utilizing such may be the difference between a favorable outcome and disaster. Both television and radio serve as excellent mediums with up-to-the-minute storm path information in the wake of a hurricane. Another method of tracking a hurricane may be only arm's length away. Your smartphone or tablet can be your most valuable tool before, during, and after a storm, providing countless numbers of apps with crucial hurricane information. Many apps allow you to track storms with moving radar and satellite imagery, plus offer alerts, current conditions, forecasts, advisories, and even video.
This hurricane preparedness tip was brought to you by your community radio station, Radio Cayman, 89.9 FM.
Excuse me, I noticed you from afar.
Really? Me?
Well, not you. The KFC sandwich you're eating?
Oh, Zinger.
Sorry, I'm not trying to be funny.
No, it's called the Zinger Sandwich. Crunchy, juicy, 100% chicken breast, crisp lettuce, sweet mayo on a seeded bun with a little zing. KFC's chicken is not factory breaded, frozen and refried like the Burger Boys. Customize your KFC Zinger and dip it in barbecue sauce.
Wow, now I'm starting to notice you too.
KFC, it's finger licking good.
For the Record with Orrit Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matters. For the Record with Orrit Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
I must just call. Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. It is my pleasure to have in the studio with me this morning two distinguished members of the Cayman Islands Constitution Commission. They are Ms. Annikki Hill Nee Brown and the chairperson of the Constitutional Commission, Mr. Vaughn Carter. Of course, Monday, the 4th of July, we celebrate Constitution Day here in the Cayman Islands. We know in the United States, their 4th of July is a huge, huge celebration. And we should be doing the same thing here in the Cayman Islands as well. In order to do that, though, folks, we must be familiar not only with our current Constitution, but we also need to know our constitutional history, where we came from, where we came from. And then, of course, we can ask the question, have we gone far enough? Or do we need to go farther as well? Because that also has to be a part of the discussion. I know that may be an uncomfortable discussion for some, especially the cynics and the skeptics. But it is something that we need to discuss as well. Do we want to be the stewards and the captains of our own future, or do we want to be guided by others? Those are the, cold, hard truths that we have to deal with as well. So the members here today are here to discuss the Constitution, give you additional information, and there's a blockbuster announcement. I know that they will at some point in time, and I'm going to just tease this to say that one is directed and geared towards our younger generation as well. You speak about the fact that, civics aren't taught in our schools. We don't know enough about it. Well, that may change somewhat. And that information will be provided to you later as well. So we do have one caller. Let's go to the phone lines. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning, OC, and good morning to Vaughn and to Miss Annikki.
Good morning. Good morning.
Morning.
Now, first thing, I must congratulate you for continuing to perform your functions in this way. That is point number one. But point number two, to just congratulate you for accepting appointments to any constitutional body. Because usually you will find that when you get appointed to these bodies, you think that the government is with you in being transparent and everything. But sometimes, and I have the experience, sometimes it is the very government which fights you. So you are very brave to do this, and I think you do a stellar job. But I've got 2 points that I would like to make. First of all, the issue of a referendum, although it is covered in Section 69 and 70 of the Constitution, it seems to me that it was not sufficiently clear in the Constitution whether every single amendment has to go to a referendum. Now, the default position has to be that unless a Constitution put it this way, a Constitution that is enacted through a referendum, the default position has to be that if you have to amend it, you have to go to a referendum. Unless the Constitution itself says that further amendments are to be done with in any other way, and that needs clarity. I know that this caused a little bit of some problem. FCO were asked about it, and they got a one-page letter. I think government got a one-page letter saying, well, it only goes to a referendum if it is serious. It's an important issue. I think that was a ridiculous response, because who decides whether actually that is a serious matter? So I think that one needs clarity in the Constitution. But the second and last point, I don't think there has been enough consultation regarding the last 2 amendments to the Constitution. And the problem has been, as a result, a number of things have slipped in which should never have slipped in. There was an amendment, for example, in relation to the judiciary. In the 2009 Constitution, there was a very, very good provision saying that if you complain against a judge, then you go to the Judicial and Legal Services Commission. This is the way it is done in most Commonwealth countries. And yet, in 2016, that was amended to say if you want to complain, for example, against a Grand Court judge, you go to the Chief Justice, which is absolutely ridiculous, because what would you expect him to say? And then having done that, there are no rules today from 2016 which govern that complaint procedure. There is no structured complaint. There is no transparency. If I ask today how many complaints have been made against judges, nobody knows. There are no rules all these 6 and 7 years. And part of the reason why that slipped in was because there was not sufficient consultation. So I think those two issues need to be re-examined. There are a lot of others, but I thought let me put those in and see what your comments are. Thanks very much for the opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Billy. Thank you. Mr. Carter?
Well, first of all, the questions are excellent questions, but the preamble to the two questions is relevant as well. Mm-hmm. The caller makes a point about the role and the function of the Commission, and it is important to note that we are independent. We are not beholden to any government or indeed anybody, and that's one of the reasons why I think I'm happy to have accepted the appointment, and I suspect my members feel that way strongly as well. The appointments are made by the Governor having consulted with, not on the advice, having consulted with the Honourable Premier and the Honourable Leader of the Opposition. So the consultation process will take place, but the final decision is His Excellency's decision. And I think indicative of the independence of the of this particular commission is that although Annikki is a new member, the membership straddles the previous administration. I've been a member now, I think, for over 6 years. So I initially joined as a member and then latterly became chair when David Rich stepped down, and so I think that's indicative of the fact that we are independent. We're not answerable to anybody, and what we will have also seen and will also see, I think, is as we strive to further define and enhance our role, where we've made recommendations and those recommendations haven't necessarily been accepted or followed, then we'll need to become more of an advocate for the need for either change or indeed for simply just for a process by which, okay, if we submit something, is it accepted? How's it accepted? Yes. How's it acknowledged? What then happens with that? Is there a process for formally sending it somewhere? Should it be laid? Should it go to Cabinet? Should it be laid on the table of Parliament? How do we get that message to the people other than us waving a flag and saying, come and look at it on our website, and somebody like yourself picking it up, or somebody in civil society picking it up and talking about it? So one of the things that we have identified and have recommended is there needs to be some mechanism around how we submit things and how we are dealt with it, how they are dealt with.
Something similar to an Auditor General's report.
Indeed, we provide a similar function in the Constitution to the Auditor General, the Ombudsman, and the other independent commissions as well. We are checks and balances on the government, independent checks and balances, not beholden to anybody, performing a broader and wider constitutional function. And then turning to the caller's key questions, they both revolve around how the Constitution is changed. And we touched on this at the top of the show when I explained that we send our correspondence, and I put it by convention, to the Governor, to the Premier and to the Leader of the Opposition. And that comes from the correspondence prior to the 2009 Constitution, in which there is a letter of entrustment that indicates that minor amendments to the Constitution may be made with the approval of the Premier and the Leader of the Opposition. And the caller is spot on in identifying one of the troubles and challenges with that is what are minor issues.
Yes.
That's not defined, and that's open to interpretation. And as a matter of basic principle, yes, the people should be aware and should be consulted and should have a sense of what is going on with their constitution. The adjunct to the caller's point was, well, should there always be a referendum? Once again, we turn back to the pre-2009 correspondence between the Cayman Islands government and the UK government. And at that point in time, the government asked to see whether or not a referendum provision could be put in such that any amendment to the Constitution would be by way of referendum.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, the 2009 Constitution came in by way of a referendum to see whether or not it would be brought into effect. The UK's answer was that while it was generally supportive of changes being approved by the people and that being demonstrated in one way or another and potentially by a referendum, the UK were not prepared to mandate that in every instance. So I think that they felt that there were examples where they might need or want to make changes, and effectively they reserved the power to do that. Whether or not that will happen, but how often it might happen, it hasn't happened. Would it be rarely used, often used? I don't know, but it was kept reserved, and so the Constitution can be changed. It can be changed without a referendum, and I think one could envisage examples where we might need a change for a certain issue very quickly,
yes.
And it might not necessarily need a referendum. But what I think that the Commission's position is, and it's put this in its recommendations and in its advice, and when it has said there needs to be far greater clarity around this, is that there needs to be due and proper consultation so that the people are aware of these changes. Sometimes practically that's not always possible or practical. The last constitutional changes came at the end of a term of government in the UK, and there had been a period of negotiations, and Cayman's approach, and obviously you'll be familiar with this, in the last few rounds of constitutional talks, has been for the Cayman Islands delegation to have a consistent and uniform position.
Right.
So we go to them and they can't divide us.
Exactly.
And you can see there's sense and there's practicality in that negotiating position. But sometimes that means that it's not all made public. And then in this particular instance, we got something agreed, and then it had to be approved very quickly before the UK government, or the UK had its own elections. That then led to a situation where there was, yes, it was approved by Parliament, and therefore the people's representatives looked at it, but there wasn't a long period of publication and discussion around it locally. And so, yes, the caller is right. We would benefit from some clarity around that. The caller calls for referendums in each and every occasion. That's not the case necessarily. And you could envisage some circumstances where that might not necessarily be desirable. Yes. Although as a basic principle, I think everybody would generally agree with it, particularly for important changes.
Certainly. Thank you for that. We're going to take a commercial break. Ms. Susan, we still have that caller on hold. As soon as we return from the commercial break, we will take the caller. Caller, hang in there. Please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back shortly.
Since March 2004, West Bay Pharmacy has kept their doors open to the local communities, even before, during, and after Hurricane Ivan. At West Bay Pharmacy, our staff provides so much more than pharmaceutical excellence. From the moment you walk through our doors to completing your cash out, our staff will have put your healthcare concerns at ease. We would like to take this moment to thank our loyal friends and customers. To us at West Bay Pharmacy, our patients are our primary concern. We provide thorough background checks and precise calculations to ensure your medical safety. Thank you for being a part of our family and for choosing West Bay Pharmacy, where we care about your health.
What's that? No sugar, same amazing taste? Coca-Cola Zero Sugar is here to stay. Classic taste, pure satisfaction. Be sure to stop into any Tortuga location and get your own case of Coke Zero. Or grab an ice-cold one straight from the cooler. Brought to you by Tortuga Distributors Limited. Coca-Cola, taste the feeling, Cayman.
JN money touchdown. Send the money now, reach wow. You say you need some money, JN money, I go send it in a hurry. Get through quick when you come collect your cash, or use your money card and swipe it in a flash. Send funds to any bank, yeah. Pay your bills quick, yeah. Low fees, you know what it, yeah. JN money, we a pick, yeah. Send and receive funds at any JN Money location. It's fast, affordable, and convenient. Money touchdown with JN Money. Send funds to any bank, yeah. Pay your bills quick, yeah. Low fees, you know what it, yeah. JN Money, we a pick, yeah.
Call 345-945-2014 for details. Available at JN Money locations across the Cayman Islands.
Your Radio Cayman 6 p.m. news, Monday through Friday, is brought to you by Logic. Your life connected.
Commission for Standards in Public Life reminds all persons subject to the Standards in Public Life Act that declarations are due by 30th of July. If you're struggling to complete your annual declarations of interest, the Commission for Standards in Public Life has a new tutorial video available to provide further guidance. Visit Standards in Public Life Commission.ky/register of interest to view the tutorial video today.
System 1 loaded.
1-800-534-8255. What is on your mind when it comes to the government, independence, and the opposition? Issues that matter to you. 1-800-534-8255. Waiting to hear from you. For the Record.
This is For the Record with Ort Connor.
Good morning. Welcome back to For the Record. In the studio with me this morning, two members of the Constitutional Commission of the Cayman Islands, Ms. Annikki Hill and Mr. Vaughn Carter. We do have a caller who's been holding for quite a while, so let's take that caller. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record. Thanks for being so patient.
Yes, we'll say good morning to you.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning to your guests. I would like to ask Mr. Carter or Ms. Hill or if they could address of the Constitution on page 21, section 15.
Okay.
What happens? What recourse does one have to address the or who one addresses when the government abuses that a person's right to over property and what should be done or who will take care or make sure that the government acts in the proper manner towards constituents. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much for that, caller. Do you want to read out the particular section that the caller speaks to?
Perhaps obviously I can just summarise
it. Sure, yeah.
Because it's a fairly lengthy section, and it's the caller refers to section 15 of the Constitution, which is a provision in our Bill of Rights, Freedoms and Responsibilities.
Right.
And I should hesitate slightly to say that there is, of course, a Human Rights Commission that deals with the Bill of Rights, Freedoms and Responsibilities, and that's their primary role. And I wouldn't want to traverse into their jurisdiction, but at the same time, I wouldn't want to dodge the question either. And so let me see what I can do, nevertheless, and put it into a broader constitutional context to help other listeners. The Bill of Rights is our first Bill of Rights. So that was a hugely important addition to the 2009 Constitution.
And we probably would not have gotten a Constitution absent a Bill of Rights. And they did give us sufficient time actually to allow to enact the Bill of Rights. It didn't come in to effect immediately as well. Yes.
And the whole history of the Bill of Rights is very interesting. And it's something that I was involved in. We talked earlier about the work of Roy Bodden. Roy Bodden and Frank McField were the first people to set up a local human rights committee. And that committee then evolved, and Alden Mclaughlin, when he became Minister of Education, took that on, and then it it morphed into an independent organisation with Sarah Collins, who was the chair, and then it became the commission in the new constitution. Right. And so that whole history is a very, very interesting history as to how government started that and it ultimately moved into the private sector and into the constitution. And that's relevant because a Bill of Rights is something that can be used against the government. So if the government does something that infringes or impinges upon an individual's rights, then the Constitution provides a remedy for that. And this is one of those rights that the government should not be able to deprive an individual of their property. Now, there are individual laws that deal with that. And it's not an absolute right. There might be circumstances where government needs to compulsorily purchase property to build a road, for example. Right. Mm-hmm. And there's a legal process that surrounds that. So this is one of those rights that's a qualified right that says you shouldn't be able to deprive an individual of their property unless it's specified by law and the legal mechanism is set out and complied with. Now, if that's not the case, then the individual now has a remedy under the Constitution, a constitutional motion that can be activated by that individual or filed by that individual seeking to hold the government to account in Grand Court for their actions.
So they should really exhaust all of their legal and local remedies first.
Yeah, I mean, in some instances,
if there are remedies,
there's a piece of legislation that deals with how let's use our compulsory purchase example.
Yes.
That deals with how that may be done legally, and a decision is taken, and if that decision is maybe possible, or certain pieces of legislation provide for an internal appeal, which will be cheaper and easier for the individual to pursue, and under the legislation, if there is a first instance remedy, yes, pursue that. If there's not, then at least there's the backup, which never used to be there, which is a constitutional motion.
Yes. Okay. We do have another call, but Ms. Susan, what I'm going to do is I'm going to read this. We're going to take the break, and then we take the caller after so that we won't have to interrupt them after 2 minutes. So one of her, this is one that you can think about while we're dealing with the others. I know both of you can multitask. So, so this writer says, they talk about the first caller being correct. It says the First Amendment to the Constitution increases the working age of judges to 70, whilst other civil servants work to 65, a breach of Section 16 of the Constitution. And they're asking the panel to respond to that as well. So what we're going to do, we're going to take the commercial break. When we return, we're going to take the caller, and then we'll respond to this question, and then there's another one as well. So things are starting to get busy here, guys. Folks, please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back shortly.
What's that? No sugar, same amazing taste? Coca-Cola Zero Sugar is here to stay. No one can stop me when I taste the feel. Classic taste, pure satisfaction. Be sure to stop into any Tortuga location and get your own case of Coke Zero. Or grab an ice-cold one straight from the cooler. Brought to you by Tortuga Distributors Limited. Coca-Cola, taste the feeling, Cayman.
Since March 2004, West Bay Pharmacy has kept their doors open to the local communities, even before, during, and after Hurricane Ivan. At West Bay Pharmacy, our staff provides so much more than pharmaceutical excellence. From the moment you walk through our doors to completing your cash out, our staff will have put your healthcare concerns at ease. We would like to take this moment to thank our loyal friends and customers. To us at West Bay Pharmacy, our patients are our primary concern. We provide thorough background checks and precise calculations to ensure your medical safety. Thank you for being a part of our family and for choosing West Bay Pharmacy, where we care about your health.
Hi, I'm remodeling our bathroom. I have a few questions.
Sure.
What are some ideas to make my bathroom feel larger? How do I know if I'm picking the right vanity? How do I choose a new toilet or a new countertop? Also, the lighting is terrible. Can I put a window or a skylight? And do I really need an exhaust fan?
You've come to the right place. At Brand Source, we custom design kitchen and baths, and our talented design team can help answer your questions. Whether you're looking for a modern, functional family bathroom or a luxurious personal retreat, we'll help create that beautiful space that makes your home yours. And if you're in a rush for a new look and have a limited budget, our ready-to-install bathroom vanities, built with solid wood and countertops of the finest materials, are a quick and easy remodeling solution.
For the very best in custom-designed kitchens and baths, visit Brand Source Home Gallery on Dorsey Drive, Industrial Park, Cayman's Kitchen and Bath Center.
We think it's time you crossed over to a new vehicle. And with the Toyota Corolla Cross now at Vaughn Motors, you have plenty of reasons to make the switch. The crossover body and hybrid engine is a sleek design in a sturdy structure with a spacious interior that opens to extensive cargo space. Stuck in traffic? The high-performance self-charging hybrid system automatically switches between gas and electric vehicle mode, helping you lower both fuel costs and carbon emissions. The Corolla Cross has full LED lighting inside and out, an integrated display audio system with energy monitor, and a dual-zone climate control system to ensure comfort for all. Test drive the new Toyota Corolla Cross Hybrid today at Vaughn Motors, Walkers Road.
For the record, with Ort Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matters. For the record, with Ort Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning. Welcome back to For the Record. We have a caller on hold, so let's go directly to the phone lines. I just want to remind you that in the studio with me this morning, two members of the Constitutional Commission of the Cayman Islands, Ms. Annikki Hill, and the chairman, Mr. Vaughn Carter. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning, Mr. For the Record.
Good morning. Good morning. How are you, Doc?
Pretty good, and good morning to all your guests, Mr. Carter and his colleagues there.
Okay.
This is for Mr. Carter. Mr. Carter, Section 119 of the Constitution mandates that the people of this country have the right to interact with their MPs by through district councils to give them advice. And this has been enacted since 2009, and up until now, near 2021, there has not been any district council. It's not a discretion; it's a directive from the Constitution. Where does a directive from the Constitution and successive administrations, governments, who are elected by the people, they to carry out the mandates of the Constitution, refuse to do so? What remedy does the people have? I have my views with what remedy does the people have then to make sure that that government that government, the executive and parliament abides by the highest law in the land, the Constitution? What remedies do people have when they do not do that?
Good morning, Dr. Steve. As ever, another spot-on, hugely important question. Yes. And the issue of advisory district councils is something that the Commission has been looking at and has indeed published a report and made recommendations. Those recommendations are contained in a report dated the 15th of October 2021. That's on our website and can be accessed. That has been sent to the Governor, to the Premier and to the Leader of the Opposition, and we've been engaging in discussions with those persons as well. And I should also add that the caller is absolutely correct that the provision relating to advisory district councils in Section 119 of the Constitution, and it's a short provision, so I'm actually going to take your advice and read this one, okay, because there's one particular word that's hugely important, and the caller has identified that. Yes. Section 119 states, subject to this Constitution, a law enacted by the legislature shall, and that's the important word, shall provide for the establishment, functions and jurisdictions of councils for each electoral district to operate as advisory bodies to the elected members of the Legislative Assembly. Now, one of the exercises that the Constitutional Commission has performed is a review of the Constitution as a whole, looking at sections which anticipate additional or supplementary legislation, such as this. And you were correct that the provision relating to the Constitutional Commission itself has a similar provision, and it says, subject to this Constitution, further provision related to the establishment and operation of the Constitutional Commission may be made by the legislature. Now that's a difference. So yes. we can't assert that it's necessary. We can suggest that for the reasons I explained earlier in the show, in terms of processing our reports, that it might well be desirable. But the situation in relation over the page of the Constitution 119 and advisory district councils is very different. They shall be there. And we've now had over a decade of the 2009 Constitution, and they have not been brought into effect. Now, let's discuss that a little bit and some of the issues that are in our report, if we've got time.
Sure, yes.
The caller is correct that a law was passed, but it was never brought into effect. Subsequent to that law, we have, of course, had a change in our constitution from our old multi-member districts to individual single-member constituencies. And a question arises as to whether or not the advisory district councils are necessary and required for each and every single member constituency. Yes. Now, if you read the Constitution and the provisions relating to it, that would seem to be the case. Now, is that desirable, or would we be better? Yes, we've got single-member constituencies, and that's how they work, and the individual member is elected, and they have their own mechanisms for dealing with that very small constituency. As far as advisory district councils are concerned, might we be better going back and having them on the old district basis, so they didn't necessarily relate to one individual member, but they were concerned with district issues. Now, these are only advisory. These are not administrative decision-making councils. These are meant to provide an opportunity for the people to air things that they might want their members to take on board.
Yeah, if I may interrupt you for a second, that explanation that you've given there, it seems as if some of our politicians don't really understand or do not want to understand the role of advisory district councils, because some have made the remark that, you know, we were elected by the people. We don't want to hear from other persons who are not elected to give us advice.
Yeah. And I think the potential is you set up one elected body to contradict another elected body, and you lose, well, who's the elected body, or you set up some kind of tension.
But if it's only advisory, then
what's
the objection?
Yes.
So there are two things. One, it's only advisory, and two, well, let's look at the composition then again, and if it's district-based, then it wouldn't clash with the individual constituency.
And you could still have members from each constituency on that advisory district council, so that you still have the constituency representation.
And the law that the caller spoke to didn't have elections for the advisory district councils. It had appointees from cabinet. So the concern there was, well, you could get a cabinet-dominated or a government-dominated advisory district council set up against maybe an opposition member, and that might not be helpful. So we could look at elections again, and a different system of elections and a different structure of elections that didn't mirror individual constituencies, or we could be very innovative, and we could compose them like we compose juries, by lot. We draw 5 people, and they meet for 6 months, and we put them in a room, and they come up with we think our district needs this and this and this. And they develop interesting propositions, and the individual members of Parliament can then take them or not take them. It doesn't set it up as a conflict organisation or a political organisation. It sets it up as a community-orientated body by which ideas might generate.
And I'm going to say this, and I know I'll get some flack from it, but sometimes you have to create a little bit of controversy. I had reason and opportunity to listen to a public meeting last night in the district of West Bay. And, of course, some of our elected officials say that they're not politicians. They prefer not to be called politicians because they don't consider themselves as politicians, but they need to familiarize themselves with the jargon that is in our Constitution, because I heard advisory district councils referred to as district advisory councils. Now, as you know, one may say, well, OCU really being picky about that, but you need to be able to distinguish, the sheep from the goat.
I think the key word there is advisory,
yes,
as
the key
opposed
word,
to administrative or executive or decision making. They're advisory.
Okay. I believe Doc is still there. Doc, any feedback on what Mr. Carter had to point it out? Ms. Susan? No, he isn't there. We have another caller? Okay, let's grab the other caller. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record. Good morning, caller. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning.
Yeah, good morning. How are you?
I am fine. Thank you for taking the call.
Yes, sir.
And good to hear the people that you have on the panel with you there today. I'll try to limit it to two or 3 points. 3 points. Number one, in 1944, the UN was established, or was drafted, the Articles of Association, the UN, by the UK, France, England, America, Australia. 5 countries did the primary draft, and then in 1946, then it became, in the state of Washington, it became a worldwide body. Article 73E there is very important in that it set out the objective was for all the colonies and countries that had been dominated, those that wished to not be straight colonial, as we are, with direct rule, which is what we have. We do not have any form of internal self-government. We have delegated powers, but no devolved powers. Now, I've listened to the governor, and frankly, some of what he has said about that subject is misleading, because a devolved power is one that you cannot take back. You've given it. A delegated power can be modified or withdrawn at any point in time for whatever the giver says. And all we have is
we want you to be able to cover all of your points, so don't go into too much detail into each one, please.
Well, yeah, but I want to explain what the difference is.
But our panel, they know about those things.
Well, it isn't them so much.
Okay.
It's a listening public to understand the difference between the two.
Okay,
so that has been monitored since 1956. December 1956, the UN had a vote, and they said, we need more reports, and we need to understand, we need to move on with this. That was drafted again by the same primary 5 nations, and they had 3 criteria. Internal self-government, or self-management, free association, or independence, and of course remain the way they are, as straight colonies. Different administering powers have handled it in different ways. Now, the UK has gone to the UN and told the UN in previous years that we should be taken off this list because we have satisfied these requirements. And they have said, the UN says to them, well, send us a constitution so that we can evaluate to see if they have satisfied Article 73E of the United Nations Charter. And the UK refuses to submit the Constitution, but yet still they go and they insinuate and try to say that we have devolved powers.
And we don't contradict it ourselves here in the Cayman Islands. We go along with the game as well. Caller, I'm going to interrupt you there. Ask you to hold on the line. We're going to take a break for headline news. And when we return, we're going to continue with your conversation. So please don't hang up. We're going to go to headline news. Folks, please stay tuned. For the record, we'll be back shortly.
From district to district, moving through the waters to Cayman Brac and Little Cayman. Your station, your voice. All things Cayman. One radio, many people. This is home.
Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.
89.9 Radio Cayman helps you to weather the storm during this hurricane season.
One of the most crucial elements of hurricane preparedness is storm awareness. During the season, it is of utmost importance to pay attention to the latest local weather forecasts, as hurricanes do not suddenly form or strike. There are various methods of advanced notification. Utilizing such may be the difference between a favorable outcome and disaster. Both television and radio serve as excellent mediums with up-to-the-minute storm path information in the wake of a hurricane. Another method of tracking a hurricane may be only arm's length away. Your smartphone or tablet can be your most valuable tool before, during, and after a storm, providing countless numbers of apps with crucial hurricane information. Many apps allow you to track storms with moving radar and satellite imagery, plus offer alerts, current conditions, forecasts, advisories, and even video.
This hurricane preparedness tip was brought to you by your community radio station, Radio Cayman, 89.9 FM.
The Ministry of Education announces the extension of Early Childhood Assistance Program Ecap funding for children previously approved for the September 1st, 2021 to June 30th, 2022 period. The extension will see funding being paid for the summer months of July and August. The next Ecap funding period is currently open to Caymanian children who turn 3 years old before September 1st, 2022 and meet the means testing requirements specified on the application form. In international news, at least 19 people, including 2 children, have died following Russian missile strikes on the southern region of Odessa on Friday, Ukrainian officials said. Residential buildings and 2 recreation centers were among the places hit. Russia is making gains around the embattled eastern Ukraine city and claims to have taken over a key oil refinery. Meanwhile, U.S. President Joe Biden said NATO's actions in response to Russia's invasion are starting to take effect economically and militarily, as he vowed to support Ukraine for as long as it takes after the alliance formally invited Sweden and Finland to join. And American basketball star Brittany Griner appeared in a Moscow area court for trial Friday, about 4.5 months after she was arrested on cannabis possession charges at an airport while traveling to play for a Russia team. She was arrested in February. Police said she was carrying vape canisters with cannabis oil. The Phoenix Mercury Center and 2-time U.S. Olympic gold medalist could face up to 10 years in prison if convicted of large-scale transportation of drugs. Those are your latest headlines. I'm Shanda Gallego.
For the latest in news and information,
follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, radiocayman.gov.ky.
For the record, with Ort Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matters. For the record, with Ort Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning. Welcome back to For the Record. In the studio with me this morning, 2 members of the Constitutional Commission of the Cayman Islands, Ms. Annikki Hill and Mr. Vaughn Carter. Ms. Hill is a member, Mr. Carter, of course, a member and the chairperson as well. We have a caller still on hold. I'm going to ask that caller to please help us to move along a little quicker than we are. Go right ahead, caller.
Mr. Ozzy.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so as this continues situation to be monitored by the UN, they have annual 3 times a year.
Mm-hmm.
There are opportunities for the Cayman Islands to be represented at the United Nations to tell our story.
We just missed one again.
Yes, sir. Well, we missed 2
Yeah.
because there was another set in June.
Yeah.
There's going to be another meeting in October.
Yes.
And then it goes in December, the second week, it goes to the UN General Assembly for a vote. And the UK writes in and tells the story. For us, we don't do it. Now, Gibraltar, Falkland Islands, St. Helena, and some of the other Caribbean countries. Bermuda was represented in May because they had the...
yeah. We can just say that Cayman wasn't represented.
Yeah, yes, but I also want to understand other OC territories. OT. You have me brainwashed. Other OT territories are represented, but not the Cayman Islands. Back in the 90s and in the early 2000s, we had, I think, if I'm correct, about 8 to 10 different people attended these conferences. Private sector paid for it, out of their own money, and then the government actually attended about 2 or 3. In 2005, we were supposed to have the conference here in Cayman, and that was canceled at the last moment. Now, next year is another opportunity to invite them to come here when constitutional matters can be discussed. And I'm going to ask the Constitutional Commission if they could. I can give you some guidance and let you know some people and whatnot where you get all the information. If we could approach government and ask the government to have the meeting here in the Cayman Islands. Additionally, if the Constitution Commission could write the UN and ask them that all of these meetings that they have, if they could be broadcast on YouTube, and recordings of the meeting, which have been done, could be put on YouTube so our people can get educated and understand the subjects that are being discussed and what is being said about us. And it's important. That's all part of the communication and the education of the subject. But they want to keep us ignorant. And I use that word, ignorant. Because if we're kept ignorant, then we can't sensibly debate it, and we can have people, as we've had in the past, feed lies and false information on this subject to us. And we don't know right from wrong. But the truth is available. We need to get the truth.
If I may, Mr. Billy, thank you for your call again, and as ever, thank you for your encyclopedic knowledge of history and of the history of the United Nations and of the interaction between the United Nations and overseas territories. And you are quite correct. We've had a lot of correct callers today in that this is an important issue. I think the Commission would welcome any discussion and debate around constitutional issues. It's not something that necessarily a body needs to take a definitive or definite viewpoint on. The process and its discussion and the understanding and the learning are as important in many instances as the outcome. So yes, we would welcome that discussion. In terms of your plea, I suggest that you submit something to the Constitution Commission formally, so that could be considered by our full membership, including Dr. Williams as well, who's not with us today. Given the time frame, I suggest that you also write in the first instance to the powers that be, to the Premier and to the Governor with those matters as well, and not simply wait for the Constitution Commission and to receive your submission and to consider it and to act upon that. Strike while the iron is hot. What I would also say about the UN options, which are often defined as integration, independence, or free association, is that there is an emerging fourth one, which is a voluntary decision taken by a territory to have an arrangement other than those three. And I think that that's where the UK's position comes from, following a lot of debate and discussion around the Constitution, that and we had that decade of discussion, and you and I were part of some of those committees and working with the Chamber of Commerce back in 1999 as well. So those discussions went on for a long time, and I think the UK perceives that as being to some extent a choice was made, and there was a constitution and there was a referendum. That said, prior to the last round of constitutional amendments, the then Premier and the then Leader of the Opposition came to the Constitutional Commission and said, here's our package of things that we now feel we have good reason and good standing to go back to the UK on and to negotiate further amendments, which I think most people felt were unlikely to have happened after 2009. You'll be familiar with the phrase, Mr. Billy, that we won't condone another Bermuda. This is really as far as Cayman was going to go unless it had an agenda for independence. But we did go a lot further in this last round of constitutional amendments. But interestingly, one of the issues that was on the list of things that the Premier presented as things to discuss was the concept of free association. That was something that was going to have been taken up with the UK government at those talks. What the Constitutional Commission has been interested to find out is, was that brought up in those constitutional talks, and what was said about it? And we've been asking for the minutes of those constitutional talks and for the correspondence that went back and forth between the Cayman Islands government and the UK government to be made available to the general public, so that they,
just like we did with the 2009
so that they can see it. That hasn't been made available to date. We've written on more than 3 occasions now. Wow. It's in our recommendations letter of 15th of October 2011 that has a series of issues that we've raised, and we continue to raise it, and it's raised in our constitutional update. That is, we think, something that should be made available to the people precisely for the reasons that the caller states. Exactly. That it would help us to understand what the debate was. The caller suggests that this hasn't been on the agenda. I know from being consulted that it was potentially on the agenda. So what happened to it?
Yeah. Good point. We're going to thank that caller and grab another caller. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Morning, Mr. Osei.
Good morning. How are you, sir?
Good morning to the panel, both Miss Annikki and Mr. Vaughn.
Morning.
Competent, professional, and really first-class individuals.
Yes, they are.
Thank you for giving your time to the committee. This is me, Johan. Just had a quick question for you. Can somebody walk me through what the process is for constitutional amendments? I'll give an example. We're always talking about, the right to family and certain rights are enshrined in the Constitution, so on and so forth. However, if you're a sexual predator or a murderer or somebody that has made the conscious decision to commit a heinous act, I'm of the belief that individual, after serving their time, should be deemed persona non grata and forced to leave the jurisdiction, because I don't think we should have to deal with foreign criminal scum. I think we have enough local problems, but I just don't understand how, those rights are recognized and individuals are safeguarded under the Constitution when their actions are undeserving of such protection. So it's a very basic question, but I don't have an appreciation for what the process of a constitutional amendment looks like and the length of time it takes to happen. So thank you very much, and keep up the great work, guys.
Thank you very much for that, caller. Why don't we take the commercial break, Ms. Susan, and give our panelists an opportunity to respond to that caller as well. Folks, please stay tuned. For the Record, we'll be back shortly.
At Doctor's Hospital, we know life happens, and usually when you least expect it. So when unexpected medical issues arise, you need quality care close to home. Located in the heart of Georgetown, our accomplished team of physicians and medical staff treat minor urgent conditions such as migraines, chest and abdominal pain, shortness of breath, burns, broken bones, open wounds, and more. 24 hours, 7 days a week with no appointment necessary. Peace of mind is important when life happens. At Doctor's Hospital, we're always here just for you. Need to speak to someone? Call 949-6066.
JN money touchdown. Send the money now. Reach wow. You say you need some money. JN money, I go send it in a hurry. Get through quick when you come collect your cash, or use your money card and swipe it in a flash. Send funds to any bank, yeah. Pay your bills quick, yeah. Low fees, you know what it, yeah. JN money, we a pick, yeah. Send and receive funds at any JN Money location. It's fast, affordable, and convenient. Money touchdown with JN Money. Send funds to any bank? Yeah. Pay your bills quick? Yeah. Low fees, you know it? Yeah. JN Money, we are pick? Yeah.
Call 345-945-2014 for details. Available at JN Money locations across the Cayman Islands.
Ransomware, DDoS, malware, phishing. If you don't know what those mean, you're not alone. But if you aren't protected against those cybersecurity attacks, then your business is at risk. Don't leave your data or your business vulnerable. Get Digicel Business Protect. Simpler, smarter cybersecurity. Visit our website, www.digicelbusiness.com, to request a callback or call us now on 623-2499.
Radio Cayman, your #1 community station, would like to remind you that we are in the hurricane season, and in order to survive a hurricane, you need to be prepared. If officials' sources say a hurricane is imminent, please board up or shutter up windows in your home or place of business. Remember to use good lumber, as makeshift boarding may actually cause more damage. Also put strong bracing on outside doors so that they are not blown off or blown in.
This hurricane advice was brought to you by Radio Cayman, your caring community radio station.
For the record, with Ort Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matters. For the record, with Ort Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning. Welcome back to For the Record. In the studio with me, we have the chairperson of the Constitutional Commission of the Cayman Islands, Mr. Vaughn Carter, and member, Ms. Annikki Hill as well. And I want to remind you, the 4th of July on Monday, we celebrate Constitution Day in the Cayman Islands. And, of course, the Constitutional Commission, part of their remit is to educate persons about our Constitution as well. And, that has been done. I want to read this email that I received as well, and ask you to respond to this while we respond to the last caller as well. And this person says that there is not enough constitutional chat in our homes today. They point out that when they were children, their parents talked about the Constitution, and that's how they learned a lot. And then they have this question with Cayman becoming such a multicultural, multinational jurisdiction. How do we educate or either educate them or encourage them to be educated about our Constitution? The new Caymanians that come on board, yes, you may take a test when it comes to applying for Caymanian status. You may take an oath when you become a British Overseas Territory citizen. But how we go about educating our new citizens in the Cayman Islands as well, how should that be done? Because the writer points out that at some point in time, maybe not now, but at some point in time, we're getting pretty close to it, where those numbers are going to increase and probably be higher than generational Caymanians. So, at some point in time, they may be in control as opposed to generational Caymanians. How do we educate them, about that as well? So,
actually, I'll take that question.
Sure.
Okay. And also, I'd love to go back to the other email question. And I know we have an open caller, a caller question that needs to be addressed as well, which I'll hand over to Vaughn. But first to the question that we were just asked, which is, there's not enough constitutional chat going on in our homes, and it was a part of the Caymanian home in the past to be able to have conversations about what was going on in the country. Mm-hmm. And I think in many cases, politics has replaced constitution. In the at the domino table and in the hammock and at the Sunday lunch. Mm-hmm. But I think the writer, the emailer, whatever we're going to call that person, thank you very much for your comment and your question, has actually pointed out to a couple of the main challenges that the Constitutional Commission is facing in our educational mandate. One, they've spoken, first of all, to the changes in Cayman society, which makes it even more critical that we communicate what our constitution is, what the rights are, etc. But we're also seeing a lot of other things that are impacting our ability to be effective in our education process, and requiring that we get very creative and strategic in the way that we communicate with the Caymanian public, and the Cayman public, not just the Caymanian public, but everyone who lives here, because of course these rights are not just Caymanian. But so we also have the challenge of no longer having a daily newspaper, no longer having a morning show, a morning television show, which used to be the thing that, I mean, this talk show is really, really effective. The one that we're on today, thank you very much for being here.
Thank you.
Is really effective, in communicating these things. However, there used to be more almost a more cohesive and more predictable way of distributing information, and this is not just a Cayman problem, this is throughout the world. So now we have 10 different people in the same traffic listening to 10 different radio stations. So they're having challenges around media and the technology, the impact that technology has. The truth, I was told the other day, I did a presentation at a school, and I invited them to follow a Facebook page, and they're like, I'm so sorry, miss, but we're not on Facebook. That's where our parents are. So, we're also having a generational conversation around communication. So we have the Cayman social structure changing. We have the impact of technology, and we're also having the generational splintering of how you access information. Now, in answer to, I think what I understand the caller's question is, how do we deal with that? I have it that it's something that is very much top of mind for the Constitutional Commission. We are working to strategize around meeting these challenges, and acknowledging these challenges has been very much the first step, right? Okay. However, we do have a couple of things that have been worked on. I know that I'm, of course, very new to this conversation. I've attended my second meeting of the Constitutional Commission, but I'm one of those people that jumps in and then asks questions later. I may be sorry for that later. But we do have a publication that is coming out that is going to be accessible very soon. And that is the Cayman Islands Constitution graphic adaptation. We like to call it our little comic book. And this is a publication.
I want to hold that up.
This is a publication that is designed for children, specifically to educate children on the rights and the obligations within the Constitution. And we've also made several attempts to have an in-depth discussion around curriculum. I think we're a good ways into this, and Vaughn will be able to give you more details on that, and creating some form of national civics curriculum through the education department. And of course, we have these conversations, right? Which is why we show up to talk shows, and we'll take your invitation whenever you send it, sir.
Oh, great.
To make sure we have, we keep the public as informed as possible, but not only just informed, but interaction. We would benefit from the kinds of questions that we've experienced today, which are, very, very powerful questions, very spot-on questions that are conversations that we want to have happening at the Sunday dinner table, So that's really, I hope that answers the first caller's question. Yes. There was also another email and that I don't want to step over, and if I remember properly, the question was whether or not the First Amendment was a contradiction or a breach of the Constitution, which allowed for judges to stay in position until the age of 70. So they have a different retirement age than other civil service. And now, so first of all, I think let's just address the question of breach. Because it is an amendment to the Constitution, this being within the Constitution is not a breach of the Constitution. It is the Constitution. So let's first of all address that. The second piece that I would speak to is that probably the reasoning behind this, and I can only assume the reasoning behind this because, of course, I've only been in position a couple of months, so bear with me. But I can assume, in having a bit of a legal background myself, that understanding the difference of the nature of the work of the judiciary is important. No one walks out of university and steps into a judicial seat. This is a position that requires a body of knowledge. It requires a established expertise in order to perform it properly. And judges season over time, they season over time. So you can see that the bench itself would probably have been, it would benefit from holding on to expertise for a certain period of time, and the short lifespan of a judge's seat as it is. Most of them are appointed. I think the youngest I've ever heard of was in their 30s, to the bench in Cayman, if I'm correct. And Vaughn probably knows better than I do, but I don't go before the bench that often, clearly, or I stay away from that as much as possible. But the intention behind that would, of course, in my opinion, would be to not lose expertise too early, right, as they're getting into the prime of their knowledge, their expertise, and their ability to interpret law, establish law. I think it's also important to note that judges are not civil servants who are required to adapt to society and so on. You're interpreting established law. This is not something that is flexible. I mean, it requires interpretation, but it's not going to be like the way that civil service has had to adapt to, for instance, technology. It's not going to impact the performance of a judge in their role in the same way. So retirement ages always have a certain amount of purpose to them. So you can see why this would have been chosen in the way that it is. But I think the real main point is that it's not a breach of the Constitution. It is the Constitution.
Okay. And did we respond to Mr. Moxham's point?
No, we didn't. But,
okay.
Looks like that's my bag.
Yes.
First and foremost, the question centred around amending the Constitution. So let's park the particular reason why the caller wanted to amend the Constitution and talk about amendment. It's something we touched upon earlier. So one of the recommendations, or one of the outstanding recommendations from the Constitutional Commission, is that there needs to be greater clarity around the process by which the Constitution is amended. So once again, the caller is right to ask the question, because it is not clear as to how the Constitution can be amended, and we would welcome and benefit from greater clarity. That said, let's try and problem solve and try and identify how that process might work by looking at the system and looking at the political landscape. And I think that there are probably two options, and I suspect the caller is familiar with both of those. One is there a political consensus to change the Constitution? So that could happen by a political grouping deciding we wanted to adopt a policy, or it could happen by individuals lobbying their representatives to adopt a policy, and the government adopts that policy and then chooses to engage with the governor in the United Kingdom on a potential amendment to that effect. So that's the political mechanism, let's say.
Right.
The other option, of course, is a people-generated change, and our Constitution provides for a people-initiated referendum, which you gather the votes to the petitioners together, as the caller will, I understand, be familiar with, and establish a referendum to with a discrete question: should we have a constitutional amendment to provide for X or to provide for Y? And if that referendum was accepted, then that's going to be heavily persuasive in terms of moving such an amendment forward. So, as I say, problem solving, those would be, in the absence of a clarity and a clear mechanism, those would appear to be the obvious routes.
Okay. Ms. Susan, we still have that a caller on hold as well? Okay, we have 3 callers on hold. So we're going to take the commercial break. But before we go to the break, one of our writers has written in and said, one of our listeners has written in and said they have been closely following the situation in the British Virgin Islands, especially after the Commission of Inquiry's report. And their question is, is there anything in our Constitution, the Cayman Islands Constitution order, 2009 or any amendments to it that prevents the UK from taking similar actions that have been taken in Turks and Caicos or that were contemplated for the British Virgin Islands, where they now have an order in council drafted and waiting if the BVI are not in compliance, whether or not there's anything in our constitution that prevents the UK government from doing what they have done in the Turks and Caicos and in the BVI. So we're going to take the commercial break. 3 callers on hold. When we return, we're going to ask each caller to please be as brief as possible. While the commission members can only stay until 10 o'clock, I only have until 10 o'clock on For the Record. No leeway there. So folks, please stay tuned for The Record. We'll be back shortly.
At Doctor's Hospital, we know life happens, and usually when you least expect it. So when unexpected medical issues arise, you need quality care close to home. Located in the heart of Georgetown, our accomplished team of physicians and medical staff treat minor urgent conditions such as migraines, chest and abdominal pain, shortness of breath, burns, broken bones, open wounds, and more. 24 hours, 7 days a week with no appointment necessary. Peace of mind is important when life happens. At Doctor's Hospital, we're always here just for you. Need to speak to someone? Call 949-6066.
What's that? No sugar, same amazing taste? Coca-Cola Zero Sugar is here to stay. Classic taste, pure satisfaction. Be sure to stop into any Tortuga location and get your own case of Coke Zero. Or grab an ice-cold one straight from the cooler. Brought to you by Tortuga Distributors Limited. Coca-Cola, taste the feeling, Cayman.
Make your house into a home. Welcome to Brand Source Home Gallery, your source for premium products and a premium experience. We'll design and install your dream kitchen with crafted cabinets, complemented with elegant appliances. We'll fill it with quality houseware and cookware. Custom-designed closet and storage solutions organize and beautify any area. And with the finest bedding, you'll get a perfect night's sleep knowing Brand Source Home Gallery has everything you need to make your house a home.
For the Record with Ort Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matters. For the Record with Ort Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning. Welcome back to For the Record. We have about a half an hour left in the show. Still one more commercial break to take as well. We have some callers queued up, and my suggestion is going to be if you can pose your question or make your statement and then hang up and listen to the answer as well. So first caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Yes, Osi.
Yes.
I would like to address my question to Mr. Carter.
Okay.
How can one, in my case, me, complain to the government when the body into the government is supposed to demonstrate and show or have people adhere to the laws when they're the culprits that broke the law with me? Would he address that for me?
Before you hang up, so you're saying that the body that you would complain to is the same body that is committing the offense?
Correct. Name the police.
Okay. Well, there is
I think there's a relatively simple answer to that, which is that we do now have independent investigation of police from complaints by the public, and that task is now performed by the Office of the Ombudsman, and those concerns can be directed there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So okay. What's the commission, please?
You're talking about the Constitutional Commission?
The commission that Mr. Carter sits on.
We're the Constitutional Commission, and so we're one of the commissions under the Constitution that's serviced by the Commission Secretariat. And the caller's correct, I think, to try and understand who all these different bodies are and what they do and where they sit. So currently the commissions in the Constitution, that's the Constitutional Commission, the Human Rights Commission, the Anti-Corruption Commission, and the Standards in Public Life Commission, and indeed the Judicial and Legal Services Commission. That was a mouthful. They all are serviced by the Commission's Secretariat collectively. Now, there are other institutions that I call it support democracy, which is a phrase in the Constitution, and the rule of law as well. And they include the Officer of the Auditor General and the Ombudsman's Office. Now, the Ombudsman in old money used to be referred to as the Complaints Commissioner. Now, we also had Freedom of Information and Freedom of Information Commissioner. Those two entities have now been merged, and we have let's call it a super ombudsman, and the new super ombudsman is Mrs. Sharon Ralston, and we'd like to welcome her to her very important constitutional post. But to answer the caller's question directly, is that ombudsman, not only do they do complaints of maladministration, not only do they do freedom of information, they also manage whistleblowing. They also manage data protection, and they also manage an independent investigation of complaints against the police. So that's where to go. Office of the Ombudsman, Anderson Square.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Let's grab the next caller. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record. Good morning, caller. Welcome to For the Record.
Hello.
Good morning.
Yes, sir. Me again.
Okay.
Being as you had a little break of calls, a barrage of calls coming in. Now, Mr. Carter says that they have applied for the minutes of the meetings at which the constitutional matters were discussed, and he has had no answer. Well, let's go back to the 2002, December 7th to 9th, 2002, at the meetings that were held in London, which I attended along with Pastor Al from the Constitutional Working Group, of which Vaughn referred to earlier. At that meeting, when the meeting started, I saw no one from our side taking any notes. So I asked Mr. Ian Hendry, who was the chairman, I said, will there be minutes of these meetings? His answer to me was, no, these are informal talks. I objected. We had 16 people from the Cayman Islands over there discussing the future of the Cayman Islands Constitution, and you call them informal talks? That was an insult to our intelligence. Well, I found out Peter Bird and Colin Glass were two people taking the notes, they call them, of the meeting. And after the UK got freedom of information in 2005, I went to the Foreign and Commonwealth Office, and I got copies of that.
Okay.
I also asked our people here if they had copies. They said no. However, I found on the copies I got from England that copies were sent to Cayman. So, Mr. Carter, I would suggest that you do a freedom of information from your committee to the government, because if you look at the National Archive Law, Section 3, you will see where it is a duty and it's a violation of law if every public agency shall make and maintain full and accurate public records of its business and affairs, and go on and on and on in that section. And they are bound to do it. And under the Penal Code, if they disobey this law, you go to Section 121 of the Penal Code and lock them up for 2 years, which that provides for when someone violates the law and they're in a position of administration. So I'll talk to you some more about this offline, but this nonsense of government just offhandedly ignoring these agencies set up for democracy, the same way they did the Auditor General the other day and tried to embarrass her, but she's a hero. from Dan to come forward. God bless you all.
Thank you.
On the 4OC, cut me off.
Thank you very much. So one of our listeners has said they don't agree with the view that there is a good reason for judges to stay until 70. They point out that persons in all professions require to be seasoned. Leads to a feeling of being above the law. But while all professions may require seasoning, not all professions are the same. And I think you had a very important point and a valid one in terms of the experience. There are jurisdictions where judges hold office, for life as well, and there must be a logical reason, for that.
Actually, I think that's actually a very good compromise. Our retirement age of 70 is a compromise between which is a very common holding your seat until your end of life. And another thing I think to note is that this is not an occupation that you can enter, just walk in and enter based on education. You're talking about a very short span of expertise. So in the lifespan of that particular role, that's and I'm just restating the point that I made earlier. In the lifespan of that particular role, they're spending a far shorter period of time than any other standard form of employment within that role. So we're only getting that benefit up until the age of 70. If you take a look at the Supreme Court of the United States, aren't those lifetime appointments? Those are lifetime appointments.
Lifetime appointments.
Though, you may have a bone to pick with them right now, but depending on what your view is. But that is not uncommon in other jurisdictions.
Okay.
Obviously, before you go to another question, I think we've got a number of points
Sure.
outstanding.
Yes.
Shall I have a quick run at trying to address those, or do you want to take a break?
What we're going to do, we're going to close off the lines now, and then we can get an opportunity to cover all the questions as well. Yeah.
Okay. Well, the last caller was talking about the accessing the minutes of meetings. And we are totally in agreement with that. Of course, the big constitutional talks that took place prior to the 2009 constitution, those minutes are all readily available now and are often referred to in court as well. So that was a hugely important release. The caller makes a point as to whether or not these talks were formal and informal, and whether or not minutes were taken or not. Well, at least we could get an answer. If we were told that they were informal and there were no minutes, then when we could consider what position to take. Currently, we've asked for them and we've had no response. The caller's right. We could submit a freedom of information request, and that would probably be the next step. But I think we would hope that as the Constitutional Commission, when we say that we think that this is important, it's important for the general public, that some note is taken of that and some action is had as a response to that. And I'm hopeful that this will be looked at. I've met with the powers that be, and they do indicate that they are looking at our recommendations, and so we want to help and support them along with that. And so let the proof of the pudding will be in the eating. Let's see.
Exactly.
Given that this discussion has taken place, and this is what it's all about, and people will hear this, and hopefully they say, "Well, that's important. That's a really important point," and maybe that'll add some impetus to it moving along a little bit more quickly.
I agree with that. Yeah, I agree with that. Ms. Annikki, anything you want to add? Were we able to look at that long message that we received there? To decipher that? Well, I'll add one more here. And this
I've got one before you go.
Go ahead.
There was the issue of amending the. Well, there was the issue that a caller called in or a question about whether or not what happened in BVI or Turks and Caicos could
happen based on our constitution. And I'll just read this part of it. This person has said, it is my opinion that any country that has a constitution that can be suspended by another entity, in our case, the UK, does not have a relevant constitution, but is more of a political document that serves the politicians more than the population. So that's someone opined on that.
And so the simple answer to that first question is yes. What happened to Turks and Caicos and what was potentially going to happen in the case of BVI could happen to us. Now, let's understand the practicalities around that.
Yes.
What happened in Turks didn't ultimately happen. Let's call it the nuclear option. Didn't happen in BVI. A lot of things going on. Immediately, the Commission of Inquiry reported, you had very powerful comments coming from CARICOM and from the Vice Chancellor of the University of the West Indies saying that really that this isn't a good idea. This is harking back to old sort of colonial times. And we live in a world of Black Lives Matter activism, which is hugely important. And that context. We also live in a world, very sadly, where we had the Windrush scandal in the UK, where generations of people from the Caribbean moved to the UK but didn't have their status properly documented, and when the UK's immigration policies changed, they weren't able to prove that they had the permanent rights to stay in the Caribbean.
And some are passed on, not having the ability to have it all straightened out.
And in that context, British Caribbean relations were a little bit strained. And we also see issues around the continuation of the monarchy in the Caribbean and the Privy Council as the final court of appeal versus the Caribbean Court of Justice. So all these things are going on there are impacting policy decisions. And I think it's in that context where the UK has sort of thought, well, no, let's at least give the BVI the opportunity to address this for themselves, and that the nuclear option was perhaps not a prudent one to take.
And they actually went against the strong recommendation of the commissioner.
It was a very powerful recommendation, and it appeared to leave the UK government very little leeway, particularly given the other challenges that faced. Coincidentally, at the same time, the BVI Premier, and so there's clearly been some negotiation. There's clearly been some manoeuvrings, and the nuclear option hasn't been activated. And I think the comment that you gave is correct. There is a lot of political machinations around these things, and we were talking in the break about the example of the last constitutional changes, where people didn't anticipate those changes ever happening after 2009. And potentially they were all in jeopardy when we had the issue with civil unions and that legislation not being passed. And of course, the governor used reserve powers. Now, in the original draft order in council to change our constitution, those reserve powers were going to be removed from the constitution. As a result of that situation, the reserve powers stayed in. But interestingly, the rest of the provisions, many of which give Cayman greater autonomy and many of which limit the powers of the UK, were still passed. And I say that to say, I think that's evidence of a strong relationship between the Cayman Islands and the UK, such that there was an agreement to disagree about one particular issue, but the other key issues, which were beneficial to Cayman, nevertheless went through. Now, clearly there's a bigger discussion to be had, but I think it's important to understand some of those nuances as well.
I think there's also something to also consider, which is that in the instance of the Turks and Caicos, the British government would have been under certain European obligations. And Europe applied a certain amount of pressure that the United Nations really hasn't. The United Nations 3 options is very clear, whereas Europe had a very clear position on devolution. That I think had a huge impact on the relationships between Britain and its territories at that time. Now we're seeing what post-Brexit Britain is capable of doing on her own steam and with her own intention. So we're getting a different kind of conversation. We're in a different conversation. We're completely different parties at this point in time. So I think there's a lot to be said for the evolution of the political circumstances of Britain and of the UK. So we'll see where that lands as we move forward, but they're still finding their feet in post-Brexit Britain.
Certainly. Okay, we're going to take our last commercial break, and one more question for you guys as well, and that is what entity is the final arbiter when it comes to the interpretation of the Cayman Islands Constitution as well? Folks, please stay tuned. For the record, we'll be back shortly.
We think it's time you crossed over to a new vehicle. And with the Toyota Corolla Cross now at Vaughn Motors, you have plenty of reasons to make the switch. The crossover body and hybrid engine is a sleek design in a sturdy structure with a spacious interior that opens to extensive cargo space. Stuck in traffic? The high-performance self-charging hybrid system automatically switches between gas and electric vehicle mode, helping you lower both fuel costs and carbon emissions. The Corolla Cross has full LED lighting inside and out, an integrated display audio system with energy monitor, and a dual-zone climate control system to ensure comfort for all. Test drive the new Toyota Corolla Cross Hybrid today at Vaughn Motors, Walkers Road.
At Doctors Hospital, we know life happens, and usually when you least expect it. So when unexpected medical issues arise, you need quality care close to home. Located in the heart of Georgetown, our accomplished team of physicians and medical staff treat minor urgent conditions such as migraines, chest and abdominal pain, shortness of breath, burns, broken bones, open wounds, and more. 24 hours, 7 days a week with no appointment necessary. Peace of mind is important when life happens. At Doctors Hospital, we're always here just for you. Need to speak to someone? Call 949-6066.
Tune in every Monday through Friday at 12 p.m. for Radio Cayman's Midday Newscast. Radio Cayman, the People's Station, your trusted official source for the latest news. The 12 p.m. news is proudly brought to you by Health City Cayman Islands. World-class healthcare within your reach.
For the record with Ort Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matter. For the record with Ort Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Coming back. Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. We're on the last leg of the show this morning, and I really want to thank, I may not get another opportunity to thank all of those persons who participated in the discussion this morning as well. And I say to you, continue that discussion. You know, have your little round tables on or your chat groups on Monday as well to celebrate our Constitution and to talk about it as well. And one person opined about the BVI situation. This person says there was also a single man being inquisition, jury, and almost executioner without seemingly any question being asked, and with a governor happy to take power to himself and rule with a body of his choosing. No one elected. That will not pass muster today as well. So that person opined on that. So, lady and gentlemen, you have 10 minutes more with the mic.
I think there's one question, which was who's the final
arbiter yes.
Of the Constitution.
And we want to, don't forget to advise people about our comic book when it actually comes up, because people have seen it. I don't know if it's the colors or what that has gotten them all excited, but they want to get their hands on this.
Okay, so I'll deal with the mundane issue and Annikki deal with the more colourful issue. Of course, the courts are the arbiter of the Constitution. So we go back to our three branches of government: the lawmaking body, the legislature, the executive, the government, and the judiciary, who are the arbiters of disputes.
Yes.
And we have three levels of courts in the court hierarchy. The Grand Court being the main court of first instance. We have our own Court of Appeal. And then our final Court of Appeal is the Judicial Committee of the Privy Council that sits in London. There's a debate in the region around whether or not the independent Caribbean countries want to continue with the Privy Council, or whether or not they wish to adopt the Caribbean Court of Justice that sits in Trinidad, which as a final Court of Appeal, as well as it already exists as a Court of Appeal for the CARICOM Treaty, the trade treaty. In our update for this Constitution Day, we deal with each of the three branches of government, and we deal with the judiciary, and we take that opportunity to look at the Privy Council and what the Privy Council does and who has that as an appellate jurisdiction, as well as us. And we have an excerpt and a link to a speech by a recently retired Privy Councillor, which is Lady Arden, that came and gave a speech in the Grand Court a matter of a few weeks ago. So that link is hugely important. And she talked about how our jurisprudence has been used elsewhere by the Supreme Court in London, because the Privy Councillors also sit in the Supreme Court. And she also talked about the role, notwithstanding that they sit in London, how they seek to be sensitive to the particular jurisdictions like the Cayman Islands in which they adjudicate upon. I also understand that the Privy Councillors, the Privy Council may well be coming to Cayman at some time in the near future, which would be an important thing as well. And obviously we would welcome that. And that would be a good thing. But they are our final court of appeal. There's a huge body of jurisprudence. Go to the constitutional update. Go and look at the link to Lady Arden's speech and find out more about the Privy Council.
And the update that has been published, can you just give information in relation to that? That's all on digital, all online.
It is.
Nothing in hard copy, but people can download it if they so wish.
They can indeed.
Constitutionalcommission.ky.
Okay, and you have the mic now, madam.
Well, I'd like to first of all thank you, Mr. Osei, and I think we're going to take you up on your invitation to be here more often.
Yes.
Clearly, the community is very engaged in the conversation around the Constitution, and thank you for your warm welcome. I also want to just invite all of the listeners to please feel free to reach out, have conversations with the Constitutional Commission, interact with our pages. Like we have our constitutionalcommission.ky website. But I think there's also a Facebook page, which is semi-active at this moment. Please feel free to leave any questions there. We will at some point in time be in contact. But also, we do have something very, very exciting to look forward to, which is the Cayman Islands Constitution, a graphic adaptation, which is our lovely, colourful comic book. It is designed. I'm going to
hold it up again.
It is designed and should be in the schools as soon as possible. We will probably keep in touch with you to provide any updates as to when this will be made available more widely. At the moment, this is our preprint. We were really excited. This is the first time we've seen it. It was delivered because we wanted to make sure Dr. Steve got his copy to have a conversation with him about it. But we're excited about this and just creating more engagement with younger individuals. We have a very strong, established, interested Caymanian background of individuals who are constantly interacting with you in this show, as well as with the Constitutional Commission. This is designed to really bring the younger people into the conversation as well.
And I must say, it is good to have not reflecting on your age or anyone else's age, but to have youth on the commission as well, and your ability to connect. With our younger generation, it is really, really good to have that. We still have about 3 minutes left, so we can still continue
and so the final page of our update says, is a plea really, join our mailing list. If you want to receive the update sent to you, if you want to receive anything that gets posted to the Constitutional Commission's website, like our reports, our recommendations, our explanatory notes, our guidance notes, then if you email the Constitutional Commission at info@constitutionalcommission.ky, we're in the process of creating that mailing list, and we're hoping that every time we post something, it'll go out to our mailing list. So, obviously, get on your phone now. You could be number one on the top of that mailing list. Yes. Let's see if we can use that as a vehicle for driving more information, for driving discussion, for driving greater debate.
Excellent. Yeah, I was actually checking my phone because someone was asking a question: how often does the commission meet? So we're curious.
We meet as a basic once every quarter, but we are engaged in things like this in between those meetings.
Yes.
We work through email and discussions in the interim, and we'll also have other meetings. Annikki talked earlier about developing a new strategy for further engagement. So that you really wouldn't want to do that in a formal meeting. You need to be a little bit more creative and have a little bit more time. So we'll meet separately for that purpose as well. So it's quite a lot of work. There's a lot of work gone into producing a 19-page update of summaries of our work, but also of new information and did you know this and where to go to get that information. So there's a lot of work going on, and I hope that we can take the engagement from the show today and move forward with that. We'd be happy to come back, and we're happy to receive and answer and address anything we possibly can.
And also, I don't want us to miss the opportunity also to thank the Secretariat for supporting our efforts in getting this report out in time and designing it well for us. We do have a Secretariat that serves the 5 commissions that really does a lot of hard work in the background. So big thanks to them.
And while this may not be laid on the table of our Parliament, we can certainly lay it at the feet of the people of the Cayman Islands, which has much more clout than that Parliament out there at the end of the day, because they determine who will go into that Parliament as well. Well, I want to thank you all, folks. I want to thank you for allowing Radio Cayman, and by extension For the Record, into your homes, into your vehicles, as you traverse the busy roads of the Cayman Islands, into your places of work, wherever that may be. I also want to remind you that we are our brothers and our sisters' keepers. There is always someone out there who's less fortunate than we are, and I ask you to extend a helping hand to them. If you can't do that, then I suggest you donate to a worthy charity, because we always want to consider those who need, not necessarily those who want or even those who crave. So I say to you, have a great day. Continue to support your radio station, Radio Cayman. Join Sterling Dwayne Banks at 12:15 for Talk Today. Enjoy the holiday weekend, but remember the purpose of it, to celebrate our Constitution in the Cayman Islands. Please stay safe, and as usual, we ask the good Lord to bless these 3 beautiful, wonderful Cayman Islands.
For the Record is brought to you by Vamped Motors, the only authorized Ford and Toyota dealership serving the Cayman Islands. Coca-Cola, available across the Cayman Islands from Tortuga distributors. Accept no substitutes. Taste the feeling with Coca-Cola. Brand Source Home Gallery, inspiring luxury. West Bay Pharmacy, taking care of your health. And JN Money. From abroad to yard. Fast, affordable, convenient. Doctors Hospital. Peace of mind is important when life happens. Doctors Hospital. Always there for you. Call 949-6066.
Satisfaction is guaranteed 24 hours a day, whether it's music or information.
Grand Cayman to Cayman Brac to Little Cayman. We've